Welcome to The Hypnotist. I'm Adam Cox, and today I'm not going to be your hypnotist. I'm joined by a guest hypnotist, and that is Carmen Sauciuc. Carmen, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Adam. Thank you for having me on your show.
Great to have you here. So, I'm always curious how hypnotherapists become hypnotherapists. So, what's your background? How did you get into this world of hypnosis and hypnotherapy?
That's an interesting question. Um, I have had stress reduction. I've experienced a lot of past life regression many years ago. I wasn't going to be hypnotized. Nobody was going to get in my head. Yeah, the mentality back then, how many years ago, right? And but then I had a lot of past life regressions, a lot of them for about 2 years, like every other week for about 2 years, and they were phenomenal. And that it wasn't the beginning, but it was a good. At the same time, I learned how to meditate with binaural beat, and then it became easy. And through me practicing all of this journeying and meditation, because journeying just came natural to me. That's how I learned what hypnosis is all about.
Mm. And when you discovered hypnosis, it sounds like you were on the receiving end of lots of past life regression. I love past life regression. I tend to look at it as a metaphor to kind of find breakthroughs rather than, we've got this kind of karmic life. What's your belief system about past life regression, and what insights did you get, in these past lives?
Well, my past life regression, I do alchemical regression with my clients. So there's all kinds of regression, like age regression, alchemical regression, past life regression. Um, Past life regression, as in how people understand past life regression, is to go in the past and find out the source of your difficulties here in life. It's not what people think to be. If the subconscious is not ready to trouble back then, nothing is going to happen. It's what I'm experiencing with my clients. Me, on the other hand, with a ton of curiosity and being very assured that nobody was going to get in my head was very important to me. I traveled, and I've traveled to 1800s, 1400s, 1200s, but 2000. Actually, no, it wasn't anything. Every journey that I had in the past life regression were few hundreds years ago. It was a lot of interesting movies.
Mm. And were there any kind of commonalities in those past lives,
Oh
things that
yes.
were similar in all of them?
Not right away. It wasn't like one from one to another. There was no commonality. But now when I look back 25 years later, I see the patterns of what my subconscious was trying to tell me. And now I understand it. And because of this experience, because let me address this. At that time, I want to make a difficulty better. This past life regression didn't help with that, right? Of course, subconscious learned a lot, and it processed a lot, and it did what it needed to. Well, it was a lot of fun, right? But it did not make my difficulty better. So what I do with the clients that they ask for regression, I explain to them the same thing here, and also I explain to them that if the subconscious is not ready to go there, it's not gonna go there. But now what I do with the clients, especially with trauma, when I do regression, I do alchemical regression.
Mm.
So in this age regression, past life, it doesn't matter where the subconscious is going to arrive, that's what it's going to arrive, whether it's age or whether it's past life. Then, especially with trauma, when we get there, and I am, both of us have an intention and make a commitment to the subconscious to allow us to, as far as the subconscious is ready to process. Very important to not push anything.
Mm.
And then when we get there, whatever the subconscious reveals. If it I direct, I guide the client, depending on what they see, what they experience, what the colors, whatever is there. Um, well, it took a lot of training, but I hear, if I can put it in these words, where the subconscious needs to go for that particular work that we're working on that day. And based on that, then I guide the client to make things happen, to alchemize. We are transmuting experiences, right? So at the time we are transmuting experiences, right? The neuroscience, the hippocampus, right? So many talk about the amygdala, but it's not just the amygdala. All of the stories, all of the events that we've gone through life, they register in the hippocampus. So the hippocampus is sort of the memory, right? And those heavy layers, if you push the subconscious too much, that is going, you guide it towards a layer that's a little deeper, that is not ready to unveil, then you're going to cause more trauma. So as a subconscious, and you get feedback from the client, because it's a conversation, you get feedback from a client based on what they see, what they when you tell them to do something, whether that is happening or not happening, and their body communicates. And if something is happening good, then we go, you have to be able to pivot at any time with that. But magic happens with this, because hypnosis and experience. Experiences have marked us through life. Without experiences, we're not marked. We're just happy-go-lucky. not exactly, but through this alchemical regression, that the client has an opportunity to have that memory extracted, so to speak, from the hippocampus. So now, now we're not gonna do accounting right now to see how many times the memory needs to be extracted, but it's magical. It's magical. So all of these layers, subconscious eventually would let us work with and with that. Yeah. So to go back to your question on past life regression, it's not for everybody. And if you just want to go visit something, if you want to do it for fun and go, I had clients that they just want to go see. I said, okay, that's what we're gonna do. You look at, we're not gonna alchemize anything. And many of them did not go past their childhood, right? But I like to caution every past life regression practitioner in that experience, as experience. I am right here. All right. I am right here. I didn't go anywhere.
we lost you for a second there.
I didn't click on anything.
No worries. I always think with past life regression, how I there's two circumstances that I think is really useful, and that is that if the client has some kind of issue and has no idea where it's from, then going into a past life becomes a way to kind of bridge a theme from a past life which feels safe into their real life. Or if the cause perhaps is too traumatic and too emotive, they don't really want to experience that as a memory, but they can find a parallel in a past life. And I don't know if you ever saw a TV show from the 1990s called Quantum Leap, but
Yes.
the premise of that is that he kind of jumps into a first person perspective, and what he does in that person's life changes the trajectory of that life. He kind of rights a wrong. And I think at some level, that's the kind of premise of some form of past life regression, that actually you either extract some wisdom or you change the history or the outcome in a past life. And the connotation is that it ripples through space and time into the reality of that individual. And I couldn't care less if it's just like a dreamlike experience where it's being created generatively as they experience it,
Mhm.
or there actually was a past life, which it would be impossible to prove. What matters is, does it help the client or not? What kind of clients do you find past life regression is really useful for?
Um, I particularly a lot of trauma, definitely, but I personally would like to differentiate between past life and regression and alchemical regression. Not everybody will travel in past life, and subconscious is not ready to go there.
Mm,
And if a practitioner is not careful enough to take a client into a past life regression with the hopes of finding what was the cause of their trauma today, it might backfire on you, because the subconscious is not ready to go there. And one of the reason is that in this life so much has happened. The subconscious is like, think of layers of the onion, or think of having to the same the jacket on you over and over, like 20 jackets over. So if the client has to go to 20 layers of onion, or 20 jackets they carry, then if you want to go straight 200 years ago, subconscious is going to say no, thank you. I already have
mm,
lots issues to identify in here to work with before I go there. So it's not for everybody.
yeah, I agree. I agree.
But
It's and also it requires the client to be more open-minded. Some clients aren't kind of like willing to kind of entertain the idea of kind of past lives and that kind of stuff. But it's a tool within the toolkit. Um, I can see lots of books behind you. Clearly, you're an author that's kind of published lots of ideas and kind of systems. Tell us about feelfulness. What's that about, and where did the idea come from?
Adam, thank you for asking. Feelfulness is the system that I've been developing for the past 12 years. It is feelfulness. I coined the term feelfulness. It's not in a dictionary. It's just yet the spell check. It's not catching up, not even at my end just yet. Um, but if you think of mindfulness, feelfulness,
Mm,
right? So in mindfulness, I've had a lot of past life regression. I have a lot of meditation. I was already expanding my consciousness when I was introduced, when I arrived at mindfulness. So in mindfulness, so many gurus and so many teachers, they said you have to feel it in order to have it happen. You have to feel
mm,
it. And for the longest time, I would go, yeah, that's right, because I knew how to feel it, right? And after a while, I realized that they tell you what to do, but they didn't tell you how. And then
mm,
I kept paying attention to it. Specifically, I would go to this particular big names, and no, they would not tell you how. And then I got insulted. My knowledge got insulted, my intelligence got insulted, and I said, no, I know how to feel a feeling by choice. So at that time, I was already in few years in teaching students how to feel a feeling by choice, how to do feelfulness. And then when I got insulted, it occurred to me that I need to make this bigger than just a few practices within my circle and with my students. So I writing the book on fearfulness, it was extremely difficult. It's still 12 years in making. But what I did with the books, first I wrote this, creating ease, and then I wrote this, creating ease at self, then creating ease at work, and then creating ease at work. This is creating ease at relationships, and this is a trilogy. And creating ease, it's not easy. Ease,
mm,
a state of being. It's a way of life. It's flow. And what I've done with fearfulness, I introduced the thought feeling practices in with creating his books, and I was already teaching it. It was hard to find the words um, for it, but somehow I surprised myself. I found them, and the feedback I got from the people that read the books was surprisingly good. Well, it surprised me that people got it. It surprised me that people actually did the thought feelings. A few people would just stop at the breathing techniques. But then if you go into feel the feeling, because yeah, there are 5 laws in creating is, and each of the law takes you into feel a feeling by choice. Not feel whatever you want, not feel good, just this is the feeling you're going to attain right now, and this is how you're going to do it. So there was the guidance, and then on paper it's good enough on paper, but then also I recorded audio because I started audio, voice. The feedback that I got from people, it was just amazing. So then I wrote the Creating Ease at Work, which it was just, I should have wrote that before. It was just easier because I worked in a corporate at a time, and there was a specific terminology for the corporate. It just wrote itself, right? So many reports, so many with all of the big decision makers, and then the Creating Useless relationship needed to happen. But so I did that 2014, and now I'm at the 3rd edition. I needed to get the 3rd edition because today we need to, the way life goes today and the way things are, specifying what something is and is not, it's a requirement today. So I needed to update this to this requirement, and I actually condensed the book. I made them a tidbit shorter. So not to scare the reader, oh my God, that 3 books. Nah, well, it's 3 books, but so 5 laws from the perspective of you, the individual itself, from the perspective of at work, you, the individual at work, and then at relationship, because they're 3 aspects, and they're all part of your identity, but then you do these aspects differently.
So I'm going to guess what I think the parallel will be for fullness, and you let me know if I'm on the right track because you're the author of this system. So how I think of mindfulness is having sensory acuity to real things that you can experience with your senses. So it might be a smell, it might be a taste, it might be something you could observe, and it's being fully in the present and being aware of those things. What I think, and correct me if I'm wrong here, that feelfulness is that same level of sensory acuity, but for internal emotions and feelings. And I think the average person isn't very good at being able to describe things like anxiety compared to excitement, or happiness compared to joy or bliss. And what I think it is that same level of mindfulness, sensory acuity, but with kinesthetic feelings, and then evolving that to being very intentional about saying, right, I want to feel this way, and then being able to create that state. Have I got the right idea, or am I completely off track here?
You're on a right road, but there's more to get there. I would completely take out the word sane, because this is an evolution. And nobody knows unless I present this to them. Cognition, you mentioned cognition, and here in the system, okay, fearfulness, it's a meta-conscious design system in therapeutic methodologies, right? So I'm gonna get back to that, but let me give you these elements. It has a few elements in it: metacognition, meta emotion, and neurolanguage. So metacognition, thinking about metacognition as a increased sense of acuity, it's not doing it justice. Yeah, it is that, but it is on steroids, right? It's light years ahead. And then meta emotion has to do with choosing what you feel, right? So it's a whole lot of intention, but you need metacognition in order to do meta emotion. And then to feel a feeling by choice, also you need this neural language. And it's not linguistics, it's neuro language. One word speaks of an experience. right? And I'm not talking about warm, hot, or cold. That's similar. One word speaks to an identity level experience. And this is where the beauty of fearfulness comes in. It re-architects and re-architects your identity, right? But to go back to what you just said, a lot of people don't know what they feel. They cannot articulate what they feel. Well, I'm finding out that even a lot of professionals, they don't know what identity is. So it surprises me. So what is identity? Identity is who you are and what moves through you.
Would you say that's a belief of who people are? Because I think sometimes with identity, who people are depends on the context. So they might have multiple identities to different contexts. They might say, I'm a parent, I'm a
These are
partner,
roles. These
I'm a
are roles.
professional.
No, that's
Yeah,
a
different
role.
roles.
That's a mask. No, think of Carl Jung. Everybody should get more familiar with Carl Jung. Carl Jung, a process of individuation. He defined the self as roles, personas, masks, shadow, anima, animus, and then individuate and put them all together, coming to your center. So what you were describing are personas. See, like when I wrote the trilogy as the identity for yourself, the identity you present, it's you at work or at relationship. These are your roles. They are part of your identity, but it's not the identity. The title, your title is not your identity. Your passport, ID card, the number you have is not your identity. It helps you being identified in society, but that's not who you are. So who are you and what moves through you? So that's a whole lot that happens there. So fearfulness is going to take care of it. Go ahead. You were going to say something.
I was going to say, at some level, everyone has a belief as to who they are.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And the great thing about beliefs, as we know as hypnotherapists, is that beliefs can change. So if someone has a belief that who they are is a role or a persona, then you can change that belief, to something more useful. And I would say so many people do take their profession or their persona as their core identity. But the wonderful thing is, if that isn't useful for them, you change that one belief, and it can change their entire outlook on life. It can change so many things because it's so central. It kind of ripples out to everything. When you're helping people discover their identity, how do you do that? Is that through questions? Is that through introspection, and you get them to kind of discover? Because I imagine most people don't really know who they are.
Yes, but let me go back to what the fearfulness system is, so you understand. Discovering someone's identity is a complex system, and it's who you have been thus far and who you're going to become and who you choose to be, and you re-architect identity. Beliefs and values, they're part of it, and they're easy to change, and they are going to be changed by themselves without you having an intention to change a belief, just by working with the neural language. But neuroscience, I'm fascinated by neuroscience. Neuroscience now is giving us so many answers as to what's happening with our experiences, even with our spiritual experiences. Now the scientists can pinpoint exactly what parts of the brain are being engaged, which we didn't have that before. We didn't have with William James in 1800. We didn't have with Carl Jung in early 1920 or so. And to have the neuroscience now give us something tangible, so we can understand that spiritual experiences do something to the brain, that this past life regression and this hypnosis, that all of these experiences, when we are, whether in trance or whether meditating or whether journey, is doing something to our brain, is just, I love seeing that the science is giving this, giving us this tangible aspect. But within the neuroscience, there is a neuroscience of thoughts, beliefs, and values. Yeah. So fearfulness also goes over the neuroscience of emotions, right? Then we have neuroscience of feelings. Now, English language is one of the most wonderful languages that are on a planet, but there are few places that the English language lacks. And feelings and emotion, it's where English language lacks. It's English-speaking people have not been taught to use emotion for an emotion and feeling for a feeling. They're always intercalated. In my language, for example, I'm Romanian, Latin language, we have a word for emotion and a different word for a feeling, and an additional 3 or 4 words that can describe a combination of that. English doesn't have that. That's okay. I am specifying that in here, that feelings are different than emotion, right? And so in a nutshell, an emotion, 30 seconds, if it lasts 60 seconds, too much. 15, not even 15 seconds. An emotion is explosive, comes and go, right? It's thought provoked or is thought provoked, right? A feeling is not always. It's not an explosion. An emotion can transform into a feeling, but a feeling has an attribute of existence with it. An emotion comes and goes. Feeling, you generate a state of being, and a state of being has to do with existence of how you exist. See, existence, again, it's a word that is not used as much in English as I'm used to using this word in Romanian. So something exists or it doesn't exist, or you can make it exist, or you bring it into an existence.
Mm. And I imagine this is one of the things you're going to be talking at the Mid-America conference, is this system that you've created.
Yes.
Elaborate more on what we could expect for anyone that's going to be there in Chicago, actually kind of hearing your talk. What can they expect?
Yes. So at this conference, I'm going to talk about identity architecture of the self, you, and your client. Us as therapists. Okay, let me go to this other sentence. In all of my journeys, some of the what I've studied and observed, if a therapeutic intervention has not arrived at the self, that therapeutic intervention is not complete. It might be a technique, but it's not a therapeutic intervention. And arriving at a self, it's a journey, right? So many, especially okay, I'm not going to go there. Okay, so many professionals have techniques and modalities, and they work marvels. They do something to the beliefs and the values. It brings cognition to the client, brings them into their expanded realization that they can choose something about themselves, right? Well, identity work is needed. And it's not needed just for the client, it's needed for the therapist. So going back to Carl Jung, even Carl Jung cautioned us that if you as a therapist have not healed your wounds, then be careful on what kind of therapy you administer to the client. And he's talking about a wounded healer. So I would say 99% of therapists are wounded healers. And this is all unconscious. This is not intentional. I mean, all therapists have good intentions, right? But we need to become aware of what sits in our identity, what moves through us, because a wound that hasn't been addressed, that hasn't been removed from the hippocampus, is still going to move through you and then pass through the client. Also, at the same effect, client's wound, it's going to move through you, and if your wound is not finalized, it's not removed from the hippocampus, and then there's transference, and then there's no coherence. So don't get me wrong, a lot of healing happens, but we need a good amount of disinfectant there. Disinfectant neurolanguage.
Perfect. So people seeing you in Chicago can expect to learn some of those kind of approaches. They can actually kind of help people figure out how to reveal and make changes at the identity level.
Yeah. So what I'm going to do at this presentation, I'm going to present what the self is and all of these different parts of the self. And I'm going to talk a little bit about the neuroscience. And right now, I'm not going to take more than not even 30 seconds. It's what's fascinating to me that the neuroscience of emotions, like it has a trajectory in a brain. It's about, let me see, it's about this long, the trajectory. Think about how much you're driving. Neuroscience of feelings, it's about this long. So that tells us that when you have a feeling, the brain lights up in more areas, including the prefrontal cortex, into the evolved brain. So the evolved brain, the prefrontal cortex, it's where you have the executive function, we have choice. So we want to be aware of it and continue to be cognizant of emotion being different than a feeling. And so after I'll do this, I'll go over the neurolanguage. Neurolanguage is very important. We know that words they're heavy. Words can destroy or build a person, right? So carefully chosen words, it's one of the basis of fearfulness. When you do fearfulness, when you practice fearfulness, when you administer fearfulness for the client to feel differently. But then the scope of this is to generate a state of being. We generate states of being throughout the day all the time, but we don't, it's unconscious and they're not the right kind. Right. So like you have a plant and then you don't water the plant and it dies, or you water too much or too little, or you give it milk instead of water. It's very important what kind of states of being we generate. So then you as a practitioner will learn how to generate a state of being, well, first for you. First, because you can't just, okay, let me learn how to generate a state of being for my client. Okay, hold on a second, because we need to go to high school first, right? So you learn how to generate a state of being. I'm going to walk you through it in a little bit. And once you have multiple experiences to generating multiple states of being, there is a subtle difference between them, and the same state of being you generate in today that you need to generate a similar state of being for tomorrow with the exact same neural words, there's going to be some subtle differences between them, and that's all right. And so once we generated the state of being, we learn to then generate a therapeutic state of being. Now that's complex. That's an advanced skill. Well, metacognition, it's an advanced skill, but you can get to it with, I don't know, not even 4 hours of my training. Metacognition is, you'll get to it. That's exercise that you will repeat, and you will get into what I call simultaneous time. And you earlier talked about time travel, and you can not just equate it, but you get into a simultaneous time where everything exists at the same place. This is fifth dimension for me. But how you allocate your attention is to what's needed for you in that moment, but having the wisdom of everything that surrounds you and what is the need in that particular moment, right? So it takes a while to arrive there. Okay, so once you learn to generate a therapeutic state of being, then you as a therapist learn how to transfer this therapeutic consciousness. Pure creation, not in physical. We have so many created in physical, but before physics, there was metaphysics. So there was an intention and a feeling and attention to create something. So now we go to create this therapeutic consciousness not only enriches us as a clients, but we transfer this to the client by the simple element of the mirror neurons. Well, we transfer mirror neurons, they always pick up something from the other person. It's an automatic mechanism, but when you make that intentional, then oh my God, and then that's magic. It's magical. But also when you transfer therapeutic consciousness, and only by the sheer fact that you generate a therapeutic state of being, the collective unconscious gets populated with this therapeutic yumminess, and humanity evolves.
Amazing. It sounds fascinating. I'm excited to kind of learn more about it. For the audience listening right now, is there a demonstration or some kind of hypnosis experience that they could get a taste of what this is all about?
Absolutely, I love doing this. So we're gonna do a little bit of metacognition and meta emotion. And although this might be big words, I'm going to take you through some very simple words. But I want everybody to understand that this simplicity is highly significant. Nobody ever learned to walk by sitting down. So when we walk, we have to put the foot in front of the other, and it's significant, right? Now it's no big deal with walking, but at some point we need to do that. So I would invite your audience to just find a comfortable seat. This is not going to be a trance. They don't have to close their eyes. Actually, I would invite everybody to have their sit up straight, just exactly like you did. Just be aware of what's happening. We're not going in trance. It's not hypnosis. And if you wanna, if you have a tendency to slip into trance, you can do that later. But right now, you just be aware of being aware. You're right here in the present time. You're sitting in a chair. You have the air around you. Anything that's tangible. You're just aware of where you're at, and you're probably describing quietly in your mind, the back of your mind, what's going on. There are conversations we have in our head. Very often, most of the time, 99% of the time, we have conversation in our head. But if I tell you that there are 7 layers of thought, and then if I invite you to go into the 4th, 5th, and 6th layer, where you begin to think with no words, let's just be there, a concept, quite interesting and curious, to just go into the 6th level of thought. And in that layer of thought, where you think without words, you're not going to do this perfect, and nobody's asking you for perfection. If you were to have your attention not to the sound is going to be there. Let the sound of my voice be where it's at, without you having to go through it. So just the sound of my voice is there. You are in your body, and bring your attention close to your eyes. And as you bring your attention back to your eyes, it's a big deal, because we process everything with our eyes, and we think through our eyes, and we go there to what we think and what's happening. So right now, we're just going to be in here, and you're going to bring your attention back to your eyes, just like that. And you're going to feel something. It's going to be a sensation. A lot of people feel something on their chest, the face, the eyes. You're going to feel something. That's all right. That's a validation that you are bringing your attention point to around your eyes. And there's the shift. Very good. And then from behind you, from your eyes, I want you to bring your attention behind your eyes open. Just take your attention behind your eyes. It's going to be a little bit of pressure, and maybe a longer pressure around the chest, and then a little bit pressure behind the eyes. That's all right. It's something we knew how to do this as children all the time. Somebody just took us out of it. So we need to come back. So just hold your attention right behind your eyes. And right there in this, having your attention behind your eyes, I might ask you to find the feeling of capable. And you might say, "Oh, Carmen, you don't know." I say, "Well, I do know. So are you breathing?" "Yeah, I'm breathing." "Well, then you're capable." "Oh, well, it's very significant. Breathing, it's a very significant aspect of existence. Without you, not if you don't breathe and you don't exist, then what kind of capable would there be there? So let's be capable right now." "Well, but it's a little simple." Okay, well, what if you are to open and close the door? You open a door and close the door. Are you capable? "Yeah, yeah, I am capable." "Okay, then let's stay with that pretend, right? We're just pretending. It's not trance, it's just pretending. Pretending you open and close the door. "Yeah, sure, I can do that." Very good, very good. All right, so there is a sensation, there is a thought, and then the feeling is like, "Well, I've been doing that all my life. You know what there's to feel about it?" Well, there is something to feel about it, because when you do it, there is a bit of feeling. So let's just open and close the door. "You're capable." "Sure, I'm capable." Right? And then I'm going to ask you to feel certain. I said, "Well, Carmen, certain." I said, "Well, yeah, certain." And I said, "Well, how do I do that?" "Well, if I'm going to ask you how many fingers you have on your hand, you're going to say 5." And I say, "You sure?" "So you're 5." And I say, "You sure, sure?" "Yeah, yeah, look at this, they're 5." There's certainty. So this feeling of certainty is a language that you're going to automatically bring in when you are experiencing yourself throughout life. That feeling of capable, I can open or close the door. I've been doing it hundreds of times. There is a feeling to it. It is important. After a while, you're going to bring it in intentionally as a feeling, not as a thought. You're going to inhabit that any moment, any circumstance you find yourself throughout the day. So have your attention behind your eyes again. Because as I talk, attention is so easy for the attention to just go to where the sound is. You think, very good, very good. So just have your attention again behind your eyes. A little bit of pressure, it's all right. And again, now you already know what the spiel is. Find the feeling of capable. Much easier now, isn't it? Yeah. And then let's add the feeling of certain. Sure, you have 5 fingers. Let's pretend we're not solving any problems right now. You cannot do this wrong. It is impossible to do it wrong. Unless you don't do it. Unless you fall asleep. Right? So no trance, no falling asleep. Just pretend, have fun. You're going to feel it, and then you're going to drop it. You're going to feel it, and then you're going to drop it. You feel it, and you're going to drop it. Your attention is going to be behind your eyes, and then it's going to drop. And then it's going to be behind your eyes, and it's going to keep moving. That's all right. We're just learning how to put a foot in front of the other. And look how wonderfully now as adults, we're walking just fine. So if I am going to ask you to find the feeling of happy, oh, well, just pretend. At some point, you're happy. Just you're happy to learn something new. Oh, okay, I'm happy about that. Good. So then pretend you're happy. It has a different flavor. And maybe you're happy that you have a roof over your head. Oh, I'm happy about that. Well, let's just be happy you have a roof over your head, right? You're happy you have clean water. Oh, I forgot about it. Yeah, I'm happy I have clean water. Then let's be happy over that and pretend you're happy, right? So you have a feeling of being happy. This very simple but significant exercises right here. Your attention is behind your eyes. You have a feeling of being happy. You feel that. You're going to feel it and drop it, feel it, doesn't matter. Again, you pick it up, you feel it, and then you bring back the feeling of capable. Very good. Did you see the shift? I could even hear the shift, but you felt the shift. And now bring the feeling of certain. Bigger shift right there. So as you are capable, certain, and happy, continue to play with these feelings, to intentionally feel these feelings as I'm going to say the next few sentences. So capable, certain, happy. This creates a triangle, and this creates the platform. Have your attention behind your eyes, right? My words are still going to be there, not going anywhere. Attention behind your eyes, capable, certain, happy. So as you are feeling these feelings, pretending or not pretending, it really doesn't matter. Every self, every identity has a very basics of a basic platform for the identity. Think of it as a house. A house has a platform that the platform sits on the planet, and then that platform has pillars. Capable, certain, and happy is the very basic platform. Attention behind the eyes, happy to be learning something new. Certain, you have 5 fingers, capable to open and close the door. Certain, a little bit more certain. I'm doing this with you. Come on, a little bit certain and capable. You're definitely capable of being certain that you can pretend to be happy. So as you feel this and capable again, intentionally, just pretend. It will register something in the neuroscience. It's the limbic system is going to love it because the limbic system has been taken off the capable, certain, happy for how many years? And the prefrontal cortex is going to say, yes, I love this. Give me more. Give me more. Absolutely. So more capable, certain, happy. Prefrontal cortex loves it. And it insula completely inhabits it. And basal ganglia will register it. Cognitive reinforcement is happy. Oh, I like that. Yeah, certain. 5 fingers. Sure, I'm certain. Capable. Oh, I'm capable. You should not, Carmen. You should see. You should see my capable. Show it to me. Let me see your capable right now. I wanna see your capable. Feel it. I will see you're capable. I will feel it. This is a language. This is who you are. You are capable. You are certain. You are happy. This is the very basic, the first platform of who you are, who your identity, who you are in your identity. Everything else is just molecules around this. That's a beautiful shift. That's a beautiful shift. So it takes a little practice. We need a little more than 12 or 20 minutes, but it takes a little practice. So the basic idea is to see how I said earlier, metacognition, meta-emotion, there might be like fancy words. Okay, so the basic idea is that you have your attention, instead of having your attention over there to where the sound is, or sometimes our thoughts are over there and we have our attention there. Just bring your attention back around your eyes. And there's always going to be some sort of sensation in eyes. And all that is the focal length of the eyes. The muscles of your eyes adjust. Just like if you are to take your finger there and then bring your finger here and look at it, you will feel that in the muscle of the eyes. The similar sensation with the muscle of your eyes you will have when you allocate your attention point. So you bring it back, and of course going to be that in present time, like that, quick. This happens it's a side effect. It's a good side effect, right? And then as you have your attention there, at the beginning, you're going to drop in and then bring it back, and you drop in and bring it. That's all right. We all learn how to walk. We walked and we fall down. We walked and we fall. That's a natural flow of learning how to do something different, right? And then with the capable, certain, and happy, you pretend. There are moments throughout the day when you really don't feel capable because you're so overwhelmed. You so have something an issue you want to resolve, and it's like, I need stuff to resolve it. Yes, but you are capable of having the intention of having, you are willful. You are capable of having the willingness to change something. So nobody can ever run you can never have enough capable. You never run out of it. There was always something to be capable of. Technology, oh, don't even get me started with technology.
No, that's a really interesting kind of insight. And obviously, like you're saying, it's not trance, but just the suggestions kind of get people into a very kind of suggestible kind of state. For those people that want to see the talk, obviously you're going to be Mid-America Conference, as am I. We're going to put a link in the show notes. I think it's hypnosisconference.org is the address to go to. So check that out if you want to get last minute tickets for that. And where's the best website for people to learn more about you, Carmen?
The best website for people to learn more about me would be feelfulness.org. Right there it is. Let me show you right over here.
So feelfulness.org.
Yeah, I'll show it to you right
check
now.
that out. And we'll put that in the show notes as well.
Yes, we're going to go right here at feelfulness.org, and you will learn a little bit about feelfulness is and what is and what is not. And also this will address also feelfulness over here on our first page addresses the skepticism. There's with anything new that comes in, especially the feelfulness being a system, it is being met with skepticism, and that's all right. So this first page will address all of this. So give it a read, and then when you click on training, the training button will take you into a more precise understanding of what feelfulness does.
That's brilliant. So feelfulness.org, and we'll make sure there's a link in the description, so check that out. Carmen, it's been great to have you on the show today. Thank you for that experience. And yeah, I will see you in Chicago in a few days' time. And for you listening, check out Carmen's website. Carmen, thank you very much for joining me on the show today.
Thank you, Adam. This was great, and I look forward